And that strategy comes from the vision for that country, and you go to have a machinery that you'll be able to translate that strategy to concrete programs and projects that will touch the life of citizens. And then you back it up with budget or financial allocation. And then as the people access these services, their quality of life will begin to improve.
Experts say in order to make an impact, a developing country such as Nigeria must prioritize certain basic needs in any initiative aimed at improving living conditions for the people in any given community. What should be considered before embarking on any community project?
They may have a need in terms of water, education, hospital. Maybe some may also decide to tell you that they want market. Some will tell you they want football field. Because I quite remember some areas that we went to put communities together, women and men. The women said they want football field. You'll be surprised why women were saying football field, because there is another community that their men goes there to play football and watch football. So they believe that those women over there capture their men. So it varies. But in the nutshell, we have certain indicators that we look at in each community. What do they want as a community? They may have 1,001 projects, but you have to prioritize with them. So once you are able to facilitate that, they look at the needs that they prioritize. So that's why I said some may decide that hospital, clinic will be their area of concern, whilst others will tell you water if they don't have available water at their disposal. Some will tell you education. So it varies.
Community development ensures areas like education, healthcare, housing, sustainable infrastructure, agriculture, and skill development, as well as other areas that can be referred to as major conduits for job creation in the community, are brought to the fore. These translate to new business opportunities, investment in local businesses, as well as other endeavors that can facilitate further development.
When we begin to live in the cities and we look at the cities, we focus on the cities, we forget that, there are grassroots places, there are communities, there are certain places where people actually live, and where they live happens to be in their communities. And for development actually to impact as it is meant to, it must focus, it must target the people from the grassroots, and that's the communities.
Stakeholders say it should not just be about improving the physical conditions of a community, but about empowering people to be agents of positive change wherever they reside. It has been proven that when individuals and communities are given the tools and resources they need to improve their own lives, it can make a significant difference in the change from worse to better.
In fact, development theory and practice are agreed that there are 4 key areas that can touch the life of citizens. One is infrastructure. Infrastructure, whether roads, water infrastructure, electricity infrastructure, or transport infrastructure. Infrastructure is key. Second is health. Third is education. And then 4 is agriculture and food security. These 4 key areas are the most important in terms of development. We know, for instance, that without security there cannot be development. But the ones that touch the life of citizens and improve their quality of life and standard of living and life expectancy are infrastructure, education, health, and agriculture.
Many large-scale and major community development projects have been funded and failed in the past, particularly for not adequately representing the needs of the recipient or beneficiary communities.
When a tree intends to start well, it must have good roots. And development that takes place at the grassroots, at the community level, ensures that such development at the national level has a taproot. So when you develop with communities in mind first, and you look at the communities and center development there, it ensures that what you have eventually at the national level is able to stand. Yes, that is the reason why whenever you think about development, you first think about the communities, where the people live, where they are.
This shows that when community members are not sufficiently involved in decision making at all stages of planning and execution of projects in their communities, there is a lack of ownership and sustainability syndrome.
Bottom-up approach involves the people who will be the beneficiaries of the development process to be part of planning the development. When they plan the project, when they plan the activities, when it is bottom-up, there will be ownership and the implementation will be better. However, our experience in development shows that you need both bottom-up, top-down, and even sideways. Take, for instance, in the past 15 years, Nigeria was the third largest host of poor people in the world, with India being number 1 and China being number 2. Remember also that Nigerian population is only about 15% of China and India. But in the last 15 years, China has lifted 730 million people out of poverty. And India has lifted 170 million people out of poverty, now making Nigeria the host of the largest number of poor people in the world. How did China and India do this? They did that with enlightened leadership from top, active citizens from below, and good pro-poor policies, such as social protection policies. So that's why we say yes, bottom-up approach is the best approach in terms of development outcomes, but we need more than bottom-up. So we need bottom-up, top-down, and even sideways.
Experts say development from ground up is possible through community development, since it can contribute towards improving the lives of people at the local level, mostly by improving access to their basic services, creating jobs, and increasing incomes. It is important for people to get involved in community development in their own communities because they can make a real impact.
The most important thing is access to education, quality of education, the content of education, the relevance of the education, and how the education can prepare the people to live good quality life. In most parts of the world, every person cannot go to university, but everyone should go to primary and secondary school.
Research further shows that actions, no matter how small, can make a big difference when people get involved through volunteering, donating, or advocacy. This begs the question of which model of development can impact more in Nigeria, the top-down or the ground-up approach.
If you try to do top, bottom, down, you will fail, because when you want to talk about project sustainability, then you failed. But if you want to start your planning from bottom up approach, that should be the best, because at the end of the day, the community people accept that, because that is their problems, that is their issues that they've raised, and then you help them to resolve the issue. You help them to put in what they need, so their felt needs become prioritized and they accept it.
The 2021 National Development Plan aims to ensure that by 2025, 35 million people will be lifted out of poverty. According to the plan, the government aims to achieve this goal through accelerated sustained and inclusive economic growth with social protection initiatives. 21 million full-time jobs are expected to be created.
You cannot develop without planning. And when you plan, it's like you must tie yourself. You must tie yourself to your plans. Your plans will discipline your spending, will keep you away from frivolities, will keep you focused. But when you plan, and because a government is a continuum where societies understand how development is gotten, they operate a governance system where one government comes up and takes over from the last one in a sequence. And so there is no interruption. But in our country, we discover that a particular government takes over and it cancels out all the programs of the previous one without looking at the merits or demerits. At one fell swoop, they cancel out everything and want to start afresh because they think they have what it takes to do better. Now, in China, it wasn't like that. It has not been like that. In India, they don't govern themselves like that. They look at what was initiated, and let us not forget this fact, that it is usually because the things that were initiated are initiated to benefit the people.
That countries that have made tremendous progress in the last 30 years, like China, India, Mauritius, Botswana, Singapore, Brazil, are countries with long-term development plan and five-year national plans. And that is what we need to operationalize in this country. Luckily, the departing Buhari administration has produced Nigeria Agenda 2050. And there is also the first plan from 2020 to 2025. This Tinubu administration need to key into that Nigeria Agenda 2050, amend, review, and make it to align with its own development aspirations, but ensure that there is an overarching development strategy that guides the work of the government.
According to the plan, key sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, trade, oil and gas that account for 60% of the country's gross domestic product will be revitalized for achieving stronger economic growth. The government also promised to invest in key infrastructures such as physical, financial, digital, science, technology, and innovation.
It is the duty of the government to de-emphasize white-collar jobs and then this idea that if you can speak better grammar than your traditional language, you're a better Nigerian. No, it's a big problem we have. So government should encourage technical education. Let our young men understand and then create a good opportunity for those who are trained. Not just to, there are so many technically trained young men who are out there riding bikes, doing bike transportation. So where does that leave the teenager who is growing up and is thinking of also going to acquire a skill? Is it after acquiring a skill he hits the street with a bike, motorcycle, doing motorcycle transportation? Government will not solve every problem, but there is a minimum. That minimum is a level playing field, and then the psyche of the society must be affected. We have